times when people meet in university, things don't work out. What was it about uniqueness of your relationship that kept it going for so long?
So the first thing that fascinated me about this young man was how good looking he was. He was very good looking. He dressed really nicely, very well mannered. But I knew that we were completely from two different worlds. And that kind of fascinated me. I knew that I grew up in a world that was, but it was more of a bubble. I was very sheltered. And he was just, he was a very, studious person, very serious-minded, knew what he wanted out of life. But it was one of the things that attracted me to him was how serious he was about his future, what he wanted to do out of life and all that. Mind you, I'm comparing him with my brothers who pretty much lived a very soft life and didn't take anything very seriously.
So that was definitely something that attracted you.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Was that kind of in line too with the way you felt very responsible coming up as
yes,
an older child?
I think so
having
too.
Somebody else who seemed very responsible,
yes.
who was responsible in what they were doing at the time was something that you felt like you could
definitely, yes, definitely. Again, remember that I said earlier that I'm comparing with my brothers.
Yeah.
My brothers were very playful. And rightly so, because there was really nothing for them. By the way, right now they're all very high net worth and doing really good in life. But they didn't need to really, again, soft life. They had a backup if anything fails. But this young man at the time did not. So he took life very seriously.
So talk a little bit, please, about, because we're talking about betrayal trauma.
Right.
That's when somebody who is close to you, somebody you deeply care about, somebody you rely on, harms you. And they're different forms.
Yes.
Some of it is infidelity, some of it is neglect, abandonment, they're different kinds. But this is one of the most painful types of trauma because it's interpersonal.
Yes, it is.
Somebody you deeply care about, somebody you've relied on. How was the dynamic in your relationship when you got married? Also, how did that play out? Was there betrayal from the beginning? How did things play out? You married this guy. Did you have a beautiful wedding?
We had a celebrity, what you would call a celebrity wedding.
So you were all decked out, everybody looking
my goodness.
good? Okay, good.
It was the happiest
Were you
day
deeply
of my
in
life.
love?
I was madly in love.
So do you see how talking about betrayal now just seems like, but betrayal did happen.
It did.
Tell us how things kind of evolved, or maybe even devolved.
So let's back it up a little bit, because you talked about the betrayal in the marriage. And I want to back it up to when we were dating. One of the things that, again, like I said, we came from completely different worlds. I had a car in college. This is 1989, 90. It's very common now, but it wasn't then. So we had decided to go exclusive. He was my boyfriend. I was his girlfriend. In hindsight, I think I would have done that a little different. And what do I mean by that? As soon as we had decided this is, we're moving forward together as a unit, I pretty much drove the relationship. I went to visit him. Officially, I was his girlfriend. Unofficially, I think I became his mother and his wife.
Wow.
Because I did everything a wife would do. I cooked for him. I drove to wherever he was placed. I drove there. Even in the midst of strikes, in Nigeria, there was a time in Nigeria where there was a lot of strikes and all that. I would drive to the different cities in the midst of all that chaos to go see him. If I was going to talk to my younger self, I was going to tell her, don't do that. He's still your boyfriend. Let him prove himself to you. Let him do the chase, Even though, yes, we had declared we're a unit and all that. But I was the drive and the energy of that whole 7 years of relationship. And of course, that was the foundation of our relationship. And naturally, that foundation morphed itself into our marriage. By the time we were working, I was already working in a bank. He was still doing his youth service. There's this 1 year thing that we do in Nigeria. And again, morphed into when we came to the United States, when we relocated to the United States. The entire time, I'm the one driving it, making sure the T's are crossed, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, doing the work where he goes to school, taking care of the children. By that time, we had a kid. You just keep studying, go to school, do whatever you need to do. I'll take care of everything else. And by the time he was ready, by the time I really began to, make a demand on the relationship, we had gone some 15 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's a long time. And I decided he was at a place where I could now begin to make a demand on the relationship. And the demand, the boundaries that I was setting was met with a lot of resistance. I think it is at that point that I began to realize, wait a minute, what exactly is going on here? Because this is not how I envisioned the transition to be.
So would you say that you felt that you were investing in taking care of almost everything needed in the home, waiting for that time when he would be done with his career, the foundational part of
Yes.
it, and then you were ready to maybe do less and get him to do more? Or where was this betrayal coming from?
So this for me was a situation where I was like, okay, based on, having taken stock of both my life and his, and mind you, I also come from a very patriarchal society where the man is the breadwinner and the financial taker of the relationship. So having that background, we were both invested in making sure that he was in a financial place where he could take care of his family. So everything about our relationship together, dating and marriage, was directed towards that. Because in my childhood, the men took care of their families. Even when the wives were working, they prided in being the financial, shoulders that the family, is on. So the whole energy was directed towards that. So when he got to a place where he was financially comfortable enough to now transition into my vision of him being the caregiver financially, I met a lot of resistance. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
When you say you met a lot of resistance, he didn't consider it a priority, or he didn't want to do it, or?
Because I was changing the rules of engagement on him. The entirety of our marriage, of our relationship, courting and dating, I bore all that burden. So why the sudden change, I think, is he would be able to be in a better position to tell you what his thought process was. But I definitely changed the rules of engagement on him.
Did you feel like you were changing the rules, or you were just doing what you believed he would have understood that needed to happen?
It should have been a very natural transition, in my opinion. The whole essence of building you up to this is so you can do all these other things. So what was the point? So the betrayal for me was what was the point of spending all those years doing all that work only to now get to this point in our lives where I'm thinking, okay, we have arrived. It's time for you to be the man of the house and do what I've always thought men did. And the answer is no.
Wow.